Hey, what's going on, guys? John Sin here with another 12 Months to Mastery module. This one's going to fit in with the conference call audio that we have on female psychology as well, which you guys have already heard. So, what does it mean to understand women? Understanding women, for the sake of this video, means that you're able to decode what women mean when they talk, meaning when they say specific things. I'll give you a couple examples of things girls say before on the other call, like he's a nice guy or, that was creepy. But we're going to go over some more of those today. We're also going to talk about what women's body language is telling you about the interaction. And we're going to talk about how to learn to demonstrate that you understand the world of an attractive woman, which is really one of the main points when it comes to understanding women, because understanding women is an attraction switch. If you can show a girl that you understand her life, her world, the world of attractive women better than the average guy, women will be more attracted to you. In fact, Captain Jack, one of my great influences, that's basically the only attraction switch he uses, is he talks about how he understands women and gets along with women, and he has amazing results. So it's really, really important. I know I went through a lot of this on female psychology. We took some questions about female psychology, but it's really, really imperative that I hammer into you guys how important this is. Overall. The better you understand women, the better you will be at approaching, the better you will be at having relationships, the better you will be sexually, just in all aspects of dealing with women, you're going to improve. That's the first part. The second part is that in specifically the attraction part, in the part where you're trying to make women attracted to you, women who are either neutral or who you can't tell are attracted to you yet, we're trying to get them to show us some signs of attraction. Just demonstrating that you understand this world, that you're not an outsider to the world of women, as I like to call it, WOW, not the World of Warcraft, but it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So let's get a little deeper as to why this is important. Understanding women is important because girls generally don't hook up with guys they don't think understand the way things go down or don't get it. And what I mean by that is they don't want guys who are clueless. This is one of the reasons you should never tell girls that you're studying pickup, because girls don't want you to have to study pickup. They don't want you to have to think about this stuff. They want you to just know. They want you to just intuitively understand and be able to figure them out. It's an unfair request. I am the first one to agree with you when you say, well, how are you supposed to? It's almost impossible. But that's what girls are looking for. So if you can demonstrate that you understand women effectively, like I said, you'll be able to gain attraction almost instantly. So again, really can't emphasize how important this stuff is as a skill. Don't think of this as some lines you say, but think of understanding women as one of the skills that's going to improve your game for the rest of your life. The better you learn to understand women, I think I'm now in my 8th year of practicing pickup or something like that. I think I started in late 2003. And every year I understand women better, and every year I realize that there's more to understand and that there's a deeper things going on in women's mind than a lot of the time we give them credit for. And a lot of the time when you think you have something figured out, you realize there's more to learn. And I think learning about women, learning to understand them, the way they think, the way they feel, the way they experience the world through their emotions, the way they deal with guys, the way they get approached, stuff like that, really is one of the biggest skills. Besides leading I think is the number one skill overall for improving your life with women. And I think learning to understand women is number 2. So it is possible. Luckily for you, you have me to guide you, and I've grown up with sisters and mostly female friends. So I have a fairly decent background in understanding women. I think I understand women in a way that's different and, not to sound egotistical, better than the way female psychology is taught everywhere else, where they just kind of tell you to watch Sex and the City. None of that's bad advice. I think you will learn a lot from watching Sex and the City, but it's not the best advice out there. So the number one thing, just to review, the difference between men and women, the number one thing is logic versus emotion. Men are very, very, very logical, which makes us very direct. We are physically direct, we're verbally direct, we touch girls, we grope, we state interest in ways that's awkward. That's how we communicate. Most guys are not very subtle. Some guys are, because they've learned this art of communicating with subtlety in a more sophisticated manner that women appreciate. But those are the guys who also happen to be naturally good with women. So, as a man, it's really important to understand the key rule to dealing with women, which is that women are dealing with their emotions. A woman can say she hates you at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 2:30, be back in love with you. It's hard to understand for guys. It makes guys think that women are crazy or liars. It's a predictable, illogical irrationality. Predictably Irrational is an interesting book. I don't remember what the author is, but it's basically about how humans all make emotional decisions. But I think men are a little more logical and a little more solutions-based, whereas women want to experience emotions in everything, even negative emotions. That's another thing you have to understand about women. As guys, we're logical, and you're like, well, why would you ever want to experience bad emotions? Number one, it's a part of life. You can't ever just experience good emotions. Nobody does. But as men, we look at that and we think, like, it would be great if we could just have no emotions and just have everything be good. For girls, that's like death. Girls sometimes need bad emotions just because everything fuels their experience of life. Women really experience the world through their emotions, which is a much more sophisticated way of communicating. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about social programming here. Women have endured years of sexual brainwashing from early on, parents telling them no, parents telling them to stop touching themselves early on, dozens of organizations throughout history, from the Catholic Christian churches to the harems in Egypt, which basically all stepped up and said women shouldn't be having sex. They told girls to wait, so that it's best to be monogamous and that sex is supposed to be special and shared and yada, yada, yada. So at an early age, a lot of women believe that sex is taboo. And that's where a lot of anti-slut defense comes from. It's where a lot of reputational issues come up. And it comes, ironically enough, because of societal rules laid down by men. Now, why would men put down rules on sex when it seems like men are evolutionarily designed to spread their seed? Because the men in control wanted access to the women. It started with harems in Egypt where, kings would have 1,000 wives and everyone else was only allowed to have one, and on and on. So a lot of this stuff is not necessarily logical or fair, but it does exist. It's an unfair double standard, but women who sleep around are, in general, and not by me, I think women who sleep around are awesome, viewed as sluts, and men are viewed as studs when they sleep around a lot. So it's just a fact of society that women, their value is tied to their sexual reputation in a way that men's is inversely related. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that double standard in order to succeed and verbalize it. We'll talk about how to do that later. Another thing I want to talk about is how women get attracted and aroused, because women get attracted in a different way. Men are very visually aroused. Men see, a hot girl, and sometimes that's all it takes. But women get aroused more sensually, meaning through their senses, through this synesthesia, for lack of a better word, but synesthesia means a combining of senses. That's what turns women on. Women get turned on by the combination of hearing a voice, seeing you, smelling, tasting, touching. It blends for women in a way that it doesn't blend for men. And that's really important. That's why it's important to have a nice cologne. That's why it's important to pay attention to the way you touch girls and not touch them too roughly or strongly right off the bat, because all of these things are being factored in to the woman's attraction process. Again, at a subconscious level, she's not thinking, oh, he touched me too roughly, or, I don't smell anything that smells good. It's an unconscious thing that's going on. Now I want to talk a little about my 1+1 system. This is the basis for what's called calibration. And calibration is probably, after understanding women and leading, the third most important thing for meeting and attracting and ultimately seducing and getting into relationships with girls. The reason calibration is important is because every girl is different. There's no such thing as a one-step, one-stop pickup method that works 100% of the time on every girl. You're going to pick up a girl who is 21 and goes out 6 nights a week and isn't looking for a boyfriend in a completely different way than you're going to pick up a girl who just got dumped last night and is looking for a rebound sex. You're going to pick up a girl during the daytime different than you're going to pick up a girl at night. So while there is no set one all system, there are some basics, and attraction, comfort, and seduction are the basic phases, so to speak, or stages, whatever you want to call them, of a pickup. You have to generally gain attraction, comfort, and seduction to sleep with a girl. However, they're not linear. Notice I didn't say you have to get attraction, then build comfort, then seduce a girl. A girl may be ready for seduction before you even qualify her. I was out one night with Spear of Spear Method and Captain Jack in Dallas, and we were at this bar called something in Addison, Stingray, something like that. I don't know. And this girl comes up to us, and she high fives Spear, and he made some kind of opinion opener type question to her or something. He ran an opener on her, and she kept walking. And then she touched Captain Jack's face, and he made a cocky funny comment about how she had to pay him $5. And then she touched me on the chest and said, "Hi, you're hot." And I was like, boom, this girl is in seduction. So I grabbed her by the hand and took her outside, and I ended up getting a blowjob in the bathroom, or in the back area, in 3 or 4 minutes for meeting this girl, because I knew that she was in seduction right away. She was just in ready to go mode. Other times you'll start conversations with girls and they'll start asking you deep questions, like where you're from, where you went to school, stuff like that. They'll start demonstrating a lot of interest. So what they're saying there is that they're in comfort. And sometimes, you'll meet girls where after you build social comfort's always the beginning, right? Social comfort is the beginning of any social interaction, whether it's an executive meeting, whether it's a work meeting, whether it's meeting your friends, whether it's a pickup. Social comfort is always how we start out. It's that feeling out process where we're getting comfortable with the other person, whether it's a new person or someone we already know. But then, we're going to look at where the girl is. The most important rule of calibration is the 1+1 system. And the 1+1 system is pretty simple. You want to look at where you are, where the girl is, and add it together. And that's going to tell you where you actually are in the interaction. Think of it as like a median, right? So, for example, once I have social comfort with a girl, if I run a role play and instead of laughing and giggling, she puts her arms around me and gets really close to my face. What she's telling me is that she's in some sort of seductive sexual escalating mode, right? She's not in attraction. She's past attraction and she's not looking for comfort. So I want to look at where she is. Then I want to think about where I think I am, right? A lot of us, this is a big problem for a lot of guys, is they think they're somewhere when they're actually not. So you want to think about where you think you are, what the girl's reaction is telling you, and add them together. So if I just opened a girl, let's say I just started a conversation, and, I built some social comfort, now I run a role play, and she laughs a little, I'm going to look and say, okay, she's still an attraction. She's not totally attracted to me yet. I'm going to keep building attraction, right? That lines up exactly where what I think I have, and attraction plus attraction equals, obviously, attraction. Let's say I run a role play, and she goes, "Oh my God, you are so funny. You have to meet my friends." And she grabs me by the hand and like walks me over to introduce me to some other people. Obviously, that's more of a comfort reaction. This is more of a I'm investing, I'm interested in getting to know you type of reaction. So she's in comfort. I feel like I'm in attraction. Comfort plus attraction equals comfort. And, lastly, if the girl, gets in really close to my face, I might just kiss her and escalate the interaction and then, maybe pull her hair and see if she reacts to that. But I'm going to push the thing sexually. And if she starts to react sexually, then I'm going to try to find somewhere where I can have sex with her in the next 3 or 4 minutes. And that's some basic calibration. So look at where you're at, look at where you think the girl is, and add it up. And basically, right, if you think you're in comfort and the girl's in comfort, then you're right. If you think you're somewhere and it seems like the girl's behind you, then you want to basically assume you're right. So like if you think you're in attraction and it seems like the girl's being neutral to you, don't go backwards. Instead, you want to make sure that you just kind of assume and keep going. That's why I put this diagram that 1 + 1 = 3, because there's a lot of different combinations out there. And it's less important that you understand what all the combinations mean than that you understand the basic rules, which are that you combine what the girl is giving you, like strictly based on the facts, based on what she's saying, what she's doing, and you combine that with where you think you are, and you add them up. So like attraction plus comfort, basically, attraction is like a 1, comfort's like a 2, and seduction's like a 3, right? So if you're assigning them numerical values, right? So sometimes 1 + 1 = 3, because if you're both in attraction and she's starting to get attracted to you, you might want to start moving forward. And qualification is the mechanism that moves us forward from attraction to comfort and from comfort to seduction. So breaking rapport moves us from social comfort to attraction, and it can also move us into seduction from comfort as well. There's a couple ways to get into seduction. Seduction's an interesting subject, which we'll get to a lot of time from now. But for now, understand that the 1 + 1 system, take the girl where she's at, where you are, add it together. Attraction equals 1, comfort equals 2, and seduction equals 3. And then basically you add them up, divide it by 2, and that's basically where you're supposed to be, right? So if you're both in attraction, keep doing attraction. If you're in attraction and neutral, bad reaction is a 0. That's another part of the system. So that should make it a little easier to do the math in your head and figure out where you are in terms of calibration. If you have any questions, email Dave and Kurgan, as they both understand the 1 + 1 system pretty well. Demonstrating you understand her world. This is key to show girls that you understand what it's like to be a woman. I talked about this a little earlier, but this is where you want to talk about the unfair double standard between men and women. This is where I'll say things like, it's really interesting because I grew up with sisters, and it always seemed really weird to me that right now, like, I could tell you I want to have sex with you and no one would think that's weird. But if you said you wanted to have sex with me, people would be like, oh, she's this, that, or the other. And the thing is, it's an unfair double standard because women actually like sex as much as men, and they have to pretend that they're not as into it to not seem like a slut or something like that. And, growing up with sisters, I saw, some of my sisters were prude and other ones were not. And one of my sisters got knocked up by a big drug dealing guy with dreadlocks when she was like 16. So no judgments. But that's just bring that subject up. Talk about close female relationships you have. For me, it's my sisters and my female friends that I have had throughout my life. For you, it might be a close relationship with your mom. It might be a close relationship with an aunt, a sister, a daughter, an ex-wife, whatever. whatever it is, it's really, really, really important that you demonstrate that A, you have close relationships with women, especially with your mom. Unfortunately, I don't have a good relationship with my mom, and I don't lie about having a good relationship with her, but my game would probably do a little better if I did. But I've seen having a close relationship with your mom work really well for a lot of people. So if you have a good relationship with your mom, that's a big, big bonding point. If you have sisters, that's a bonding point. If you have a really good female best friend, that's things you should be bringing up. Pre-selection is not just about showing that you get laid. It's also about showing that you hang out with girls, you understand girls. Because the more you hang out with girls, the more it's going to seem like you understand them, and the more the girl's going to assume that you understand girls, even if you don't. So that's a really big key point. If you don't have close female friends, you should go make some. Taking the responsibility for escalation. This is another big key point for understanding women. Women are very, 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 very rarely going to make any of the first moves. Women are very rarely going to approach you. Women are very rarely going to ask for your number. Women are very rarely going to call you for the first time or text you for the first time. Women are very rarely going to make the first move and go for a kiss. Women are very rarely going to invite you to spend the night, etc., etc. Women are designed biologically to be sexually receptive while men are sexually aggressive. So we must always take responsibility for escalating the interaction. And we also have to provide plausible deniability so that the girl can deny that she came over to get laid or that she was really excited about getting laid. We have to provide her with a reason to say it just happened. No girl wants to hook up with you and then the next day have to go tell her friend that, well, I was really horny, so I went over and I just basically threw myself at this guy and we had sex. Instead, she wants to say, yeah, I was feeling, kind of lonely last night, so I called up my friend John and we watched a movie and, one thing led to another and then it just happened and we had sex. And that is our responsibility. We have to provide that plausible deniability. That's why you can't just tell a girl to come back to your house so you guys can fuck. You have to say, let's go back and have another drink, or I got to show you this piece of film or this picture or this piece of music. But you have to create reasons so that they can have plausible deniability and think that things just happen. Really, really, really important. Body language. All right, here's some signs to look for that are bad. That'll help your calibration. If you ever see any of these, you're doing something wrong. If she looks around while talking to you, she's looking around for a way to get out of this conversation or someone better to talk to. She crosses her arms, turns her body slightly away from you. Any of these signals that she's defensive. If girls clutch each other, this is my number one. The number one bad sign when you're in a bar or club and you approach a group is if the girls grab each other, because those are protective gestures. Any gesture that's protective of their friends or, indicates that they're a little scared is bad, bad, bad. And a lot of guys don't understand that. If you get any of these signs, you take a step back, lower the intensity of what you're doing, because what you're doing right now is creeping them out. She winces. There's facial flinces. They're not quite frowns, but they're close. She catches herself. She gives a forced smile. They roll their eyes. Stuff like that. It's less important to look for good body language than it is to look for bad body language. Good body language is just going to be open. If she's touching you, if she's keeping the conversation going and investing, just assume it's on. It's much more important to focus on negative body language than it is to look for good signs, like she licks her lips or flicks her hair, because a lot of that stuff is unintentional, where a lot of this stuff is unintentional as well, but it sends a very clear subconscious signal that she's uncomfortable. We're looking for any signs that she's uncomfortable, nervous, scared, weirded out. If you see any of those things, take note of it and pull back a little. Those are zeros in your 1+1 system, which means you have to take break report and step back usually. All right, now let's talk about a couple of what women say and what they mean. What do women mean when they say, let's just be friends? Well, if you met them on a cold approach, they mean, I'm not even really interested in being your friend. It's very rare that you make a romantic or sexual gesture towards a woman and she blows you off with let's just be friends and you end up actually being friends. I don't think it's ever happened to me. There are women that I've become friends with after we've had sex, and there's women that I've not been interested in having sex with that I've become friends with. But women that you want to have sex with that you fail, when they're telling you let's just be friends, they're really telling you I'm not interested in you and I'm not really interested in being friends. Now, if girls you already know who you're already friends with that are part of your like long-term seduction strategy and you like in your mind think you're doing better with them than you actually are, and they say let's just be friends, that could mean they actually do just want to be friends. But in cold approach situations, when girls tell you they want to just be friends, what they usually mean is I don't really want to be your friend. I have a boyfriend. Quick disclaimer about I have a boyfriend, because I have a boyfriend has a lot of uses. I have a boyfriend is very it's like a Swiss Army knife for women. If you get I have a boyfriend when you first approach a girl, you did something to weird her out. Especially on direct approaches. She may have a boyfriend. It's definitely possible. But when girls throw that up right away, like I said, it's not a good sign. If you go to hit on her and she says, I have a boyfriend, or you start qualifying her and she says, I have a boyfriend, she usually has a boyfriend. And she's interested, but just not, available. If she mentions that my boyfriend and I like go to get bagels at this place, or she brings it up kind of happenstancely, it could just mean that she has a boyfriend, but she's still interested in this conversation. The big thing with I have a boyfriend is you've got to learn that if you get it in the first like 2 to 3 minutes, it usually is a blow off. If you get it after that, it can mean a variety of things. It can mean I don't want anything too serious. It could mean, I'm only interested in a one-time thing. It could mean I'm interested in trading up. It can mean a lot of different things, or it could just mean that she slipped and didn't mean to even mention that she has a boyfriend. So it's all contextual. You have to ask yourself, is this girl attracted to me? If she's attracted to you and she's qualifying herself and she mentions she has a boyfriend, she might still be down. If she's doing it in the first couple of minutes before you have attraction, she's not interested. He's a nice guy. Just means you're boring and lame. If people say you're nice a lot, you're boring. Like that's basically what it is. We're not having sex. This is my personal favorite. We're not having sex means I'm really close to having sex with you. In fact, like I will tell girls preemptively that we're not having sex now, just to get it out of the way, because girls will bring it up and then it's like this whole test you have to disarm. So if a girl says we're not having sex tonight, you go, I was just about to tell you the same thing. I'm on my period. Make a joke out of it. I like to bring it up preemptively. I like to, like when I'm walking a girl back to my apartment, to like get her water, because again, plausible deniability. I'm never bringing a girl back to my house so we can bang, or unless it's, if it's super, super, super on, it's doable, but you got to really frame it the right way. For the most part, I'm giving plausible deniability so that the girl doesn't have to think about what she's doing. And then, I'll go, just so you know, like, you're just getting water. Like, we're not having sex tonight. And she'll laugh, and I'll go, yeah, I'm on my period. That's like my favorite line. And that's a good one. But yeah, if a girl says we're not having sex, she's very close to having sex with you. You just have to not screw up. And don't argue with her or try to convince her that you are having sex, because that won't work. He's creepy. Creepy really means weird, overly interested, kind of lecherous, like looking at the girl like a piece of meat. Like wasn't really interested in meeting her as much as like interested in her physicality. It's very easy to come off creepy if you stare, or like you hover, or you follow girls around, or you pay too much attention to them. Creepy is oftentimes because you're paying too much attention to them and the girl feels weirded out by it. If you're getting creepy, you've got a lot of work to do. By this point of the program, you shouldn't be getting creepy on a consistent basis. Okay, let's recap. We talked about what it means to understand women, understand their words, understand their actions, their body language, the processes of attraction. We covered the 1+1 system for calibrating where you are. 0 for negative reactions, 1 for the girl being an attraction, 2 for comfort, 3 for seduction. Add it together, divide by 2, that gives you where you are. So the girl's in seduction, and you think it's attraction, you have 4, you put them together, you Add 2, you go into comfort. That's the safe bet. If you try to build comfort with her and she's still doing seduction stuff, then you escalate again, because now you're in seduction and now you're in comfort and she's in seduction. 2.5, that's basically 3. You round up. It takes a little while to get used to the math, but once you figure it out, it's a really interesting system for calibrating and gives you something to go with when you're out in the real world. Exercises. All right, so this week I want you to just sit down and write out what you think a day is like in the life of a beautiful woman. And first of all, see if it's realistic. If you think that she's like waking up next to a celebrity and then like going to some job where she gets paid to be pretty or whatever, like that's unrealistic. But think about what it's like to be a hot girl over and over again. Think about the bad things, guys checking you out that are gross, homeless people, not being taken seriously, being considered dumb, only being judged for their looks, having that ticking time bomb. And just note if you kind of feel jealous of her or if you feel pity for her, because it's not all it's cracked up to be all the time. Next week, we will have a video on everyone's favorite subject. I swear this is the favorite subject of the entire seduction community, teasing. So I'll be going over all the different ways to tease girls, as well as giving you a ton of word-for-word lines. So you won't want to miss that. And I will be back next week to bring you teasing, which fits in a lot of varieties. Talk to you then.